Hey everybody, it's Rachel. Welcome back to the channel. Now, forgive the way my voice sounds this morning. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I hope it's not too annoying. In the last video, we talked about quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to raise its voice or prove anything. Today, I want to go just a little bit deeper because quiet strength sounds great in theory until life decides to test it. You know, something's going to happen today that upsets you. Somebody might be rude or say something incredibly stupid. Your car could break down. Somebody might mess something up despite your very careful instructions. Your instinct might be to yell, to vent, to make sure the universe knows that you are not okay with this nonsense. And that's natural. But, and here's where both the Stoics and the Buddhists would nod, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's a good idea. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that arouse them in us?" Yelling might make you feel better for a second, but does it actually fix anything? Arguing with somebody who's rude or just committed to missing the point just gives them more airtime and drags you down to their level. Getting worked up over car troubles isn't going to repair the engine. It's just going to raise your blood pressure. Berating somebody who messed up, now they're either going to resent you or be so nervous the next time that they will just mess up again. Anger only makes things worse, and yet it's everywhere. So let's start here. Anger is part of being human. It's information. It tells you something is off, that a line's been crossed, or that something you value is under threat. But temper is what happens when you hand the steering wheel to that emotion. The Stoics taught that emotions themselves are not the enemy. It's our unexamined reactions to that cause chaos. You know, the Buddhists would agree. They called anger one of the poisons of the mind, not because feeling it is evil, but because clinging to it makes you suffer twice. Once from what happened, and once from your own reaction to it. And that's really where strength lives. You know, not in pretending you don't feel anger, but in refusing to let it run the show. Think of anger like a fire. In a fireplace, it gives warmth and light, and it's nice and cozy. Uncontained, it's going to burn your house down. When you get angry and lash out, you have given away control. You have traded power for noise. Seneca had a great point. If anger makes you brave, then by that logic, being drunk should make you fearless. It doesn't. It makes you reckless and stupid. Anger doesn't add courage. It just takes its place. In other words, temper doesn't make you strong. It just pretends to. And that is an important distinction, because most of the time, what we think of as strength in anger is just adrenaline wearing a mask. I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes it feels really good to be angry. You slam a door, you send the perfect snarky reply, and for just one shiny moment, you're right and the world knows it. It feels powerful until that adrenaline fades. Then comes that hangover that we have all felt. Regret, exhaustion, a little shame, because deep down we know that temper is not strength. It's the moment strength slips. That's where Seneca offers the antidote. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. That line could save marriages, friendships, political conversations, and probably a few social media accounts. And it leads us right into what's happening around us now. If it feels like the world wants you angry, it's because it does. Outrage drives clicks, it sells ads, it fuels movements, and it distracts from the real work of thinking clearly. We are rewarded for reaction, not reflection. We scroll, we rage comment, we share the thing that made our blood boil, and each time we hand over a little bit of our piece for the cheap thrill of being right. But the Stoics and the Buddhists both warned about this trap thousands of years ago. They just didn't have Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Keep this thought handy when you feel a fit of rage coming on. It isn't manly to be enraged. Rather, gentleness and civility are more human and therefore manlier. A real man doesn't give way to anger and discontent. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Let's translate that into 2025 English. Losing your temper doesn't make you tough or respected. Staying composed does. And that brings us back to quiet strength. Not the kind that hides emotion, but the kind that holds it without being held by it. It's easy to be calm when everything's going right. It's harder when somebody cuts you off in traffic, or drops the ball at work, or says something that makes your blood boil. That's when quiet strength earns its name. Strength isn't silence, it is self-control. It's choosing not to feed the fire. It's seeing the storm, feeling it, and still steering through it. When I made that last video, I talked about calm as power. This is where it shows up. Not in the easy moments, but when your patience is being poked with a stick. Cato the elder once said, "An angry man opens his mouth and shuts his eyes." And if that does not describe the internet right now, I don't know what does. So, how do we resist that pull? Anger might be inevitable, especially now when our freedoms feel uncertain, when people manipulate facts, when division is the easiest currency. But losing your temper? It's not impressive. It's not passion. It's not power. It's a trap. And it's being laid for us by people who profit when we are too mad to think straight. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the best way to avenge yourself is not to be like that. That's not weakness. That is wisdom. Because when you stay calm in a chaotic world, you're refusing to play the game. So, how do you live with anger without letting it live through you? Well, start by pausing. Before you react, breathe. Before you speak, think. Before you post, step away. Seneca said, "How much better to heal than to seek revenge from injury." Vengeance wastes a lot of time and exposes you to many more injuries than that first sparked it. Anger always outlasts hurt. Best to take the opposite course. Translation: don't kick the mule. Don't bite back. Responding to anger with anger just multiplies the damage. And if you want something practical, when you feel the heat rising, count to 10. That doesn't work? Count to 20. If that still doesn't work, take a walk. Every delay that you insert between the spark and the explosion is your power reclaimed. And it's that delay, that pause, that turns ordinary anger into clarity. I'm not saying you should suppress anger. That is not stoic. That's denial. The goal is awareness. Notice it, name it, and decide what it's trying to tell you. Are you hurt? Do you feel powerless? Did somebody cross a boundary? Once you know why you're angry, you can act with clarity instead of impulse. That's where wisdom begins, in the space between stimulus and response. Buddhists call that space mindfulness. The Stoics call it reason. Either way, it's where your freedom lives. And that pause, that single breath between feeling and reacting, that's where your quiet strength breathes too. People confuse calm with weakness, but calm takes more courage than rage is ever going to. It's really easy to lash out. It's harder to stay steady. It's easy to point fingers. It's harder to hold boundaries with grace. True strength is restraint. It's measured response, not manic reaction. It's like off-roading. When you hit rough terrain, you don't floor it. You steady your hands, you pick your line, and you ease through it. The calmer you are, the more control you have. Lose your cool, and you are in a ditch, or you sideswipe a tree. That is temper. That's weakness disguised as force, and that's the moment your quiet strength either shows up or it doesn't. Anger can feel like clarity. I'm right, they're wrong. It's satisfying because it protects the ego. But here's the problem. Hi, baby. Hi. It narrows your vision until all you see is the target of your anger. You can't reason with someone or yourself when you're like that. You can only attack or defend. And while you're doing that, your real power, perspective, empathy, choice disappears. That's what the Stoics meant when they said that anger makes us slaves. We think we're in charge, but we're not. And if that sounds familiar lately, you're not alone. We've got some pretty powerful people out there who seem angry all the time. Why? Because someone disagreed with them, or made fun of them, or, heaven forbid, had a thought of their own. That's not strength. That's insecurity in a suit. And it's not just men. It's anyone with a fragile ego who can't handle disagreement. If you don't have the strength to be challenged, you probably shouldn't put yourself out there. Disagreements are what makes the world interesting. Intelligent people talk through them. Fragile people say, it's my way or the highway. Real strength doesn't need anyone to agree. It just needs the confidence to listen. Right now, it's really hard not to be angry. The news is a circus. People lie openly. Fear sells better than truth. There's injustice, cruelty, and manipulation everywhere you look. And you're told implicitly and explicitly that if you're not outraged, you must not care. But the opposite is true. You can care a lot without losing yourself. As Marcus said, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. That applies to all of us, men, women, anybody who's tired of being baited into fury. Calm doesn't mean passive. It means present. It means aware. It means you're no longer dancing to the beat of somebody else's drum. And once you find that, your peace and your power start to come back. When that happens, the next step is deciding what you're going to do with it. That's the big difference between reaction and response. Reaction is automatic. Response is deliberate. Reaction is your temper taking the wheel. Response is your reason steering it. That is the whole game. So the next time somebody cuts you off or trolls you online or says something incredibly stupid, practice being the person who pauses. You're gonna feel the pull, that spark that says, oh my God, say something. But then you'll also feel the space after it, the breath. That's where your control lives. That's where wisdom answers back. Every time we explode, we pay twice. Once in energy, once in credibility. Because temper might win the moment, but it loses the long game. It damages relationships, trust, even your self-respect. It trains your nervous system to stay on high alert, and that is no way to live. Seneca called anger a kind of temporary insanity, and he wasn't exaggerating. Studies today show that in moments of rage, the brain's reasoning centers literally go offline. We can't think, which means we make stupid choices. So the next time you feel the pressure building, just remember, the first person your temper hurts is you. We always think that we're hurting the other person, but really, it's us who carries it around. And the Stoics knew this. Seneca put it perfectly. How much better to heal than seek revenge from injury? Vengeance wastes a lot of time and exposes you to many more injuries than the first that sparked it. When you refuse to retaliate right off the bat, you don't lose. You just stop giving your peace away. That's not weakness. That's strength, with your self-respect intact. And if you need a reminder, try this instead. I'd rather keep my head than lose my peace. Every time you do, you turn anger into awareness, and awareness into calm. Start small, when the coffee spills, breathe before you start swearing. When the text irritates you, type the response, then delete it. Then maybe type it again a little bit differently. When somebody cuts you off in traffic, remember, you can't fix stupid, but you can protect your peace. Those tiny pauses build resilience. They make it easier to stay steady instead of flying off the handle. That's the real training. Not suppressing emotion, mastering it. We started with the idea that quiet strength sounds nice until it's tested. Well, anger is that test. Every time something provokes you, you have two choices: react and feed the fire, or respond and keep your peace. One burns hot and fades fast. The other lasts a lifetime. And that's why anger isn't strength. Control is. And like I said earlier, Marcus Aurelius had the best advice for it. The best way to avenge yourself is not to be like that. That's quiet strength in action. That's resilience, composure, and true power. So, if something goes wrong today, and it will, remember this. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control who you become in response. I know this one might stir up some opinions, so tell me what you think. Have you ever caught yourself losing it and thought, well, that wasn't at all helpful? Been there, done that. Thanks for watching. As always, take care of you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.